Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soul Livity TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to follow your joy and tap into your inner happiness? Then the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, my guests and I explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well being practices that can help lead you back to the happiness within you. The happiness principle for today's show is seeing challenges as a blessing. No one is immune to hardship and challenge. We see varying degrees of adversity in the world, but the ones we face are always ones that we can surmount. We all have what it takes to get through every difficult situation we're in. We have the superpowers and the gifts within us to overcome any hurdle, to find ourselves victorious on the other side. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. We just may not see it when we're deep in the muck of it all. The challenge is an opportunity for our soul to learn, grow, and expand. The experience we are going through from the perspective of the divine is never good or bad, right or wrong. It just is. It is our human selves who have attached meaning to the experiences, and then it has us feeling positively or negatively about it. Abraham Hicks tells us that experiences are there just to help us sort out through what we like and what we don't like. And knowing what we don't like just leads us in the direction of what we do. The contrasting experience allows us to learn more about ourselves, what we prefer, and what resonates with us. The challenge provides the opportunity for us to discover our gifts, our talents that are within us that we didn't know we had until the event happened. If we dig deep within ourselves, we can always find the skills and abilities to rise to the occasion and surpass any hardship placed in our path. This is what our spirit wants us to discover about ourselves, how amazingly talented and adept we are to meet the challenge ahead with confidence and grace. We need to remember we can do it. Just as children before the age of 5 believe they can do it and they can achieve anything. When they trip and fall, they get back up and try again. They don't tell themselves how incompetent they are or how they will never amount to anything. They are so connected to their spirit and source energy that they know they are powerful creators. They know that within them is the power to create worlds, and they can create a reality with endless possibility. No hurdles are too big. They just get back up and they figure out how they are going to make it happen with an unquestionable knowing within them that says it just will, and it's only a matter of time. We need to get out of our own way. We are the ones sabotaging our own success by believing we don't have what it takes to succeed, by thinking we're not enough. If only we were different than who we are, and that we're not wholly worthy of what we desire. We don't have to let our past failures determine our future successes. We need to change the narrative we've been living by to one where we are triumphant. We must believe that we are the masters of our own lives, regardless of what people think about us and what they think we can achieve. It's time to stop playing our small selves so that other people won't feel bad about themselves and their lives, because playing it small doesn't serve the world. The world needs us to shine and live our big self, which unconsciously gives permission for others to do the same. We all have what it takes to create the life we want moment by moment with each choice we make. We can choose to believe we're awesome, spectacular, and extraordinary, or we can let fear prevent us from being who we really are and who we were meant to be in this lifetime. I'm making the choice to be me, authentically and unapologetically me. What are you going to choose? With that being said, I'd like to introduce my first guest to the show. He's a business leader advisor, keynote speaker, prosperity coach, and a wellness advocate expert. Chris Salem, hello and welcome to the show.
Teresa, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
A little bit about you, the work that you
Well,
do.
I mean, I'm a happily married man to my wife, Maria. Now we are celebrating 7 years of marriage. I was married once before, but this has been the most wonderful relationship I've ever had. And I'm the happy father of my soon to be 14-year-old son, CJ, very active in his sports. And when I'm not with my family, I love to be with my clients. I love inspiring through my example and being a resource through my experience to help them elevate their lives and businesses to the next level.
Mhm. So let's dive right in then. And so, in your line of work and all of the clients you've had and all of the talks that you've done and experience in the line of work that you do, what do you feel is preventing people from living their happiest life?
Well, that's a great question, Teresa. And I would say that, the thing that's limiting people, it always comes back to us. No matter what has happened to us in our lives, it's still our responsibility. And what's holding people back are what we call limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are established during our child development years. And it's during that time we are like sponges. We observe, not knowing this consciously, of course, what our parents do, how they behave, how they communicate, their attitudes, their emotions, course of action that they take and so on. And either way, we pick up certain things that are going to be positive and negative. And if there are anything that is negative, those can form into limiting beliefs. And then as we become adults, they can have a dramatic impact negatively, not only on our self-esteem and confidence, but our communication, how we communicate to ourselves and others, our behavior, how we make decisions, how we take calculated risk and follow through with action.
So it's all it all base that's it. At the base of everything, it's our limiting beliefs. That is what's stopping us from living our happiest life. Anything else in
I
addition?
would say, I mean, there could be, obviously physical limitations and certain things like that, of course, but limiting beliefs play a dramatic role in limiting people in terms of their capability. And instead of, when people look at the problem, they don't, it's hard for them to imagine the possibilities within the solution because they're so caught up in managing the problem and
Mhm.
not looking at the solution or adapting to what is and controlling what they can to maximize that.
So, what are some of the limiting beliefs that you find are most common and that hold people back?
I would say that it's universal that abandonment or the need for validation are very common. I know for myself, I had a strong need for validation. I didn't know this at the time, but when I was growing up, I grew up in a codependent home. My mother was a perfectionist. She was a great mom, but a perfectionist, meaning that everything had to be done right. And if you didn't do it right, she would make sure that it got done for you. So again, I became enabled. My mother was a pleaser and enabler. And I picked up most of my limiting beliefs from my father, and my father was not emotionally there, usually traveling. And when he was, again, he was checked out. So I was always seeking his approval, always seeking his validation, not even realizing it. And as I grew up, it had a dramatic impact on my self esteem and confidence. It impacted the way I communicated to myself and other people. I became passive and aggressive, meaning passive means that I went out of my way to please and enable others. So when I did, I would get their validation, but it was never to the level that I was looking for. So I would become angry as a result of it. And then I could be aggressive, meaning I would place high expectations onto other people, myself. And when they went unfulfilled, it again repeated that cycle of feeling anger. Anger is the negative emotion I experienced in my life. So I didn't realize I was playing a part in creating these situations through my limiting beliefs to experience that anger
Mhm.
over and over and over again. Different situations, same experience. And with that, again, that codependency of passive aggressive behavior and communication had a dramatic negative impact on my relationships. I had two lost engagements. I struggled 12 years of addiction, two times almost died from that addiction. And that wasn't the wake up call. And so those are the things that I find abandonment is not physical abandonment, but emotional abandonment and quite common in women.
Mhm. Mhm. So what about when you're working, with the big executives or with corporate? What are some of the beliefs there that keep people stuck?
Well, again, when you think about it, we're people, and people bring in their personal situations into the workplace, whether they know that conscious or not. Now, imagine people, all those people coming together in one organization, and then now they're all trying to communicate with one another, and they're acting a certain way, they're communicating in a certain way, making decisions, taking certain risks, and following through. So when people are operating from limiting beliefs, it can impact other people in a negative way, especially if another person's operating from limiting beliefs. But if we have the ability to take ownership, if we have the awareness to recognize that we can eradicate our limited beliefs, and regardless of title, that we can take the initiative to embrace a process that we can get rid of our limiting beliefs
Mhm.
and then shift away from codependent behavior and communication to interdependent, we can be a resource and an example for others, just like how we observed our parents growing up. And that's where we picked up our limiting beliefs, that we can inspire people to do the same for themselves. When people take ownership of their role and duties in life and in
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
businesses, over time, making kind of rewiring the way we think, we will then think differently, to be different, to become, do, and have different and better results. So, this is what leads us to a place of interdependency. And interdependency operates in an environment of empathy and kindness, not sympathy and pleasing and enabling. One is interdependent, one is codependent.
Mhm. Now, to take that first step, it's important for us to recognize what the limiting beliefs are. But if we're always around the same people that are spewing the same negative beliefs and limitations on what this world is about, what we can achieve in this world based on where we live, what religion we are, what we're wearing, the color of our skin, how much education we have, what work experience, what titles, degrees, like a whole bunch of reasons why. That again, if we're surrounding ourselves with people that believe in those limitations, then it's hard for us to identify them, that they even exist. So how do we step outside of that environment, let's say, so that we can actually recognize what the beliefs are? Because if that's all we're being fed, then our conditioning, those paradigms, those patterns, those habits become so ingrained that we don't even know that they
Yep.
are limiting beliefs to begin with. We just think that's the way life is. Like, and if someone else is, there's a world of possibility out there. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the world that I live in. I don't live in a world of possibility. I live like in my personal reality bubble, and everyone around me is telling me it's not a world of possibility. So you better just jump back on your spaceship and go back to where you came from. So how can we begin to identify what those limiting beliefs are then?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I mean, it's a show like yours that has people that went through these personal experiences that can share through their example and be a resource. It's just creating that awareness. It could be a lunch and learn. I do a lot of these in companies, and a lot of times people be going, "Wow, I never realized that." So it's not necessarily you have to know what those limiting beliefs are. I didn't know what limiting beliefs even were. I didn't even know what the need for validation was. I just knew I was stuck. I was miserable. I was struggling with addiction. My relationships were strained. I just reached a point after my dad died at the age of 56, that was my aha moment, that I
Mhm.
had to do something about it, that I had to take ownership. I didn't even know how I was going to do it and how what I was going to do it. I just knew that I had to do something, and then I just started putting myself out there to be open to resources that could help me help myself, and that's what happened. And through that experience, I was able to find a process that allowed me to eradicate my limiting beliefs at the source, the root cause to them,
Mhm.
and then from the
Mhm.
same place rewire my brain to think, to be, to become, to do, and have different results. And I had to change, shift away from codependency to interdependency. It was a process, took some time, but
Mhm.
that's where it starts. It's awareness. It's just aware that you're not where you like to be.
Mhm.
That's the person like if you were experiencing that right now. And then it's sources like your show and other things out there that are constantly putting out information to create awareness so now people can then
Mhm.
logically and consciously say, wow, that makes sense. Perhaps there's something I can do to now find out what's blocking me, and
Mhm.
and I'll be happy to share that process with everyone here and so on. But that's where it
Mhm.
starts.
I agree. And so, just before we jump into that process, I just want to say that for me, it felt like a misalignment, right? That my life checked off all the boxes that society, culture, family, religion tell you should achieve to have a happy life. So, fulfilling career, healthy family, our own home, cars in the driveway, vacations here, lots of beautiful material things. So, if my life checks off all of what I should achieve in my life to be happy, how is it that I don't feel happy and fulfilled
Yeah,
with my life? That I felt that there was something missing. So I
missing.
think there is like a sense of dis-ease in within yourself that also tells you that something is off. And that for
Yeah,
me, my realization was that through the living of my life by trying to meet everybody's expectations for who I needed to be, perfect mom, perfect wife, perfect daughter, daughter-in-law, employee, teacher, all these different hats, let's say, that I was wearing, is that I reached a point that I had lost myself. If someone said, who is the real Teresa? I don't know who that is because I'm so busy being all of the perfect
yeah,
for whoever everyone else need to be, that there was, like I said, a feeling of dis-ease within
yep,
myself. So I think if we if we're not feeling the love, peace, and happiness that is at our core, if we're not connected to that, I think there is
absolutely.
a voice inside of us that's telling us something is off. So even if our environment is telling us, oh no, this is how it's gonna be, this is life on earth, it's life on earth, it sucks. You came down to have this human experience, and sorry, that's what it is. It's just a world of negativity and cruelty, and we know what all the negatives could be. But I think within ourselves, we know that something is off. So let's go
Yeah.
into that process
Sure,
together. How?
I'd be happy to, and you're right. As a society and the media enforces it that we feel happiness is something that happens to us, that it's outside of us. But the reality there isn't. There are people. Look at Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey grew up poor. He's a Canadian. He grew up poor, and he came to the United States to chase his dream of being a comedian and an actor. And he achieved all these great things, only to realize he was still unhappy because he'd been led to believe that was what was going to make him happy. And he
Mhm,
realized that happiness is a choice. It's a
mhm,
choice that you choose to be happy. It's not something that happens to you. It's happens something that happens for you that comes from your decision to choose
mhm,
it. Your life can be falling apart around you, and you
mhm,
can still choose to be happy and grateful for what you can get from that. So I know for me, it's I had to learn that happiness isn't tied into good things happening in my career, or that my wife did something special for me, or my son scored the winning
mhm,
touchdown. Yes, those are things that are great to complement happiness, but in itself, that it's a choice that I'm choosing before the situation even happens, regardless of what's happening, that I'm going to be happy. And then when anything else outside of
mhm,
complements that, that's great. That's interdependency. So I've learned that when you choose happiness, it's about learning to master your thinking of what you can control and letting go of everything else beyond your control. So what can we control? You can control your communication to yourself, how your inner critic or inner
mhm,
champion, to other
mhm,
people. You can control your behavior. You can control your attitude, your emotions, not the thoughts, but you could choose which thoughts to pay attention to with the positive emotion or emotions.
Mhm.
And then you
Mhm.
could choose your course of action. I cannot control my wife's communication, what she perceived, what I said. Even if I paraphrase, she's going to perceive what she perceives for what I said. I
Mhm.
can't control her behavior, her attitude, her emotions, or course of action. You see, as human beings, we always get caught up in the things we can't control. We try to get in control of other people's things I just mentioned. We try to control what's happening with COVID in the economy, in the world, the weather. Oh, today I was going to go hiking and now it's raining. Oh my God, my day is ruined. And because again, you're putting your power outside of you, attaching it to things
Mhm.
beyond your control. Happiness is controlling the things that you have in your control, and that's your communication, behavior, attitude, emotions, course of action, regardless of anything else outside of your control. When you could trust the process in the moment, shifting away from expectations tied to outcomes. You have a goal you're looking to reach, whatever that may be, but you bring it into the moment and say, what can I control right now? And then
Mhm.
if I can put the puzzle pieces I have together that I have, perhaps tomorrow, next week, month later, a quarter later, I'll have some other pieces that I can complete my puzzle, and those are the results.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
trusting that process, and that to me is what shifted
Mhm.
my way of being, quality of mind to choose to be happy. And that was something I had to work on each and every day because it's not something you just say, "Yeah, I'll choose to be happy." You gotta work on your mind to be conditioned to do that every day. So I have a daily routine that I do in order to do that that I've been doing for a long time. Now it's of course a lot easier, but it was not easy. But happiness is a choice from within for what you could control.
Mhm. And the theme for today's show is seeing our challenges as blessings. And so, what you just said, I connected when you said it's a process, right? That we don't just arrive at the end goal by taking a huge leap. It's by taking all those small little steps and enjoying the journey along the way. Because there are all those times that we are working towards a goal. We achieve the goal, we feel good about it for 3 days, and then we're like, now what's my next goal? Right? And then again, you're on the next process. And then many people are miserable along the journey because they're not getting to the end goal as fast as they want to. So it is definitely about enjoying the journey, enjoying the process to getting to where we need to be, and being present to that process will guarantee what our future happiness will be like. The greatest predictor of future happiness is how happy we can be in the present moment. So if you're miserable every single present moment, most likely your future is also going to be miserable. So it's so important for us to stay present. So what quickly maybe I know because we're running out of time is what is some of the process that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, again, it's learning how to get to the root cause of your limiting beliefs. Again, they come from your childhood, and they're often tied to your a parent. Usually, it could be both parents, but it's usually one parent over the other. Mine was mostly my father, and that was the need for validation because I didn't get it growing up from him. So I had to really come to peace and forgive him and forgive myself more importantly. But in order to really do that, that took a daily routine in order to get to that place. And that started with the two core habits or disciplines that even to this day I do every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's meditation and journaling. Now, meditation did not come easy for me. I had ADHD, and having ADHD, I couldn't sit still for 5 seconds. So getting somebody like me to meditate was a daunting task. But the pain was greater than that at that time, and I said, Whatever it's gonna take, I'm gonna do it." So I white knuckled and I meditated for 5 months. I don't even think I ever reached a meditative state because I had these racing thoughts. But eventually I persisted, I was consistent, and eventually one day I got into the theta wave state, and then it got easier and easier. And then I would journal. So after meditation, I would journal
Mhm.
because my mind would come out of the theta wave state. My subconscious mind would give my conscious mind the ability to begin to see what could be blocking me, what was getting in my way.
Mhm.
This is how I found out that I had a strong need for validation, that I sought it out in girlfriends and friends and coworkers and
Mhm.
bosses. I didn't even realize, I didn't even know what validation was at the point. I was like, what is that? I wrote it down. I didn't even know what it meant. But then it all made sense. And I began to see that I was a pleaser. I was an enabler. I was aggressive. I placed high expectations onto other people. Now I don't live my life from expectations. Matter of fact, they're not even part of my vocabulary. But with
Mhm.
that being said, I had to also adopt other habits. Getting up early, 4:15 in the morning, doesn't mean you have to get up at 4:15. Make my bed to accomplish a small task in the moment that lead to more smaller tasks accomplishing things and then bigger
Mhm.
tasks. Meditation, journaling, working out, eating a healthy breakfast, reading a chapter 2 out of a book, and then reviewing my daily goals.
Mhm.
I do that routine each and every day. That routine helped me to get to the root cause of my limiting beliefs. So I got out of the problem, and then from the same place, rewired my brain to think differently, to be, to become, to do, and have, and doing that same routine. Now, that was 22 plus years ago. I'm still doing that same routine every day. I've never missed a day. And again, that's where discipline and consistency
Mhm.
will then trigger your intrinsic motivation in your brain over time, where it becomes the new automatic pattern.
Mhm. And it is
So,
that consistency and that dedication that makes the
yeah,
difference. It's not like we apply it for a week and be like,
no.
"Oh, nothing's changing."
Yeah. And
Nothing's
that's where most
changing,
people
right?
give up. That's where they give up.
Yes. Yes, and
They
we
give
do
up.
that in so many areas of our lives, right? We're like, "Oh, I wanna lose some weight." Well, then the scale doesn't budge and, oh, like, whatever, right? And so we're trying to make changes in the gym on our body, and it's like, okay, we go a couple weeks and we're not seeing ourselves as chisels at the like, "Oh, this it's never gonna work, whatever, I'll just give up." But no, it's compound interest. That was another something that another
Yeah.
guest said, that compound interest on our action every single day, that those little steps over time. If we recognize it, if we don't take those little steps, we're never going
Yes.
to make like the big strides that we want to make. It is all about those taking those little steps.
Absolutely.
Chris, you've been so fantastic. If people want to connect with you after the show, how can they do that?
Well, first, I want to thank you for this show, that this platform that you allow people with just great experiences and their stories to inspire others to, that are, maybe in a difficult place, that there's hope and that we can have the choice to be happy. If people would like to reach out to me, my website is christophersalem.com. That's ChristopherSalem.com. Or feel free to reach out to me at chris@christophersalem.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, Christopher Salem. I love to get to know you. I'm all about getting to know people, and it's all about relationships. So thank you for this opportunity to share it today.
Thank you for being on the show and being a force to be reckoned with. You're so powerful. I loved so much of the message that you shared, and really about awakening to the challenges that we're facing, that are preventing us from living our happiest and best lives. So that awareness, like you said, is so key to that. So thank you so much for being who you are and the work that you do as well.
Thank you, Teresa, for having me.
Stay tuned, as after the break, I'll be speaking with the Miracle Man. Piqued your interest? I'll see you after the break.
Thank you for tuning in to Beauty and Gratitude with D'Angelo Thompson. That's me. We're going to focus on beauty from the inside out and gratitude being the cornerstone of your life. I will have amazing guests from all walks of life, from wellness experts to beauty, tech, fashion, you name it, they will be here. And we have amazing names coming up in the near future. So tune in every 2 weeks, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Celebrity TV or Celebrity Magazine. Thank each of you for watching, and focus on life, focus on gratitude. Thank you.
can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Solivity at go.solivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Solivity. We work so hard sometimes. Isn't it time for a break? Take a walk or enjoy nature or maybe a leap or a ride or even a dip. Spending time with a friend or some time alone. Whatever it is, always spend time growing and learning with a Solivity weekend. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Solivity TV.
Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco. I'm excited to introduce my next guest. As Bob Proctor labeled him, and his friend and business associate calls him daily, the miracle man who defied death and came back to teach on how to heal and to live as our most powerful self in the now. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Daniel Back.
Thank you, Teresa. How are you today?
Excellent, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, very well. Beautiful day. We're working outside, building a chicken coop, and the sun is just glowing out there. It's beautiful.
So, Daniel, why don't we start off by you telling us your very inspiring story?
Hmm, good one. Well, now it's been a little over 10 years, and I was in a massive motorcycle accident where I hit the back end of a vehicle that cut in front of me, and I went through the back window, and as the momentum pulled me through the window, it pulled me up in the air, threw me over a set of streetlights, and equally as far down the road, but as it did, the glass partially severed my head all the way down to my esophagus. And as I came down, thinking I could try to brace myself, my left side was already paralyzed. It didn't work, and I hit the ground face first, snapped my head back, and as very fortunate, the EMS was nearby because when they called them, normally they're always busy going somewhere else or doing something else or transporting somebody, but they just happened to be in the area. They came and scraped me off the ground where I'd been. It was within the 5 minutes. By the time they got me to the hospital, I was 20 minutes inoculated. Rushed me straight in for 10 surgeries. Uh, within like 14 hours, then induced a coma, and then I was out for was it 10 days after that. Then following that, I had one surgery a month for 3 years. So every 3 to 4 weeks, I had a surgery for the following 3 years. And I just calculated them now. I added them up there just the other day. I've had 43 surgeries in total.
That's
Yeah, I woke up
I
blind. It took me out of the coma. I was deaf, muted, fully paralyzed on the left side. I was a paraplegic, but I was biplegic. I was left side paralyzed, right side functioned, and inoculated for 20 minutes. And memory was completely gone. It erased all my memory, all my knowing of life, like even how to function and scratch an itch. I was technically reborn when I came out of the coma, and just fractured my neck, my back, and copious other parts of my body. So it's like they finally put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Mhm. Mhm. And so, what was your recovery process? What's that been like?
That has been one heck of a journey. The biggest part of it all is gaining back the mental space and getting an understanding of life and how to function in life again after it was completely erased. And when you're 30 years young and you're walking down the road, people look at you and think that you're you should have 30-year-old mentality. But really, I was probably like 6 or 8 or 10 as I was growing.
Mhm.
So I got to relive life again. The recovery process has been an ongoing challenge of just, well, when in the beginning I was 6 to 8 hours of rehabilitation every day for about 3 years straight, along with a surgery every month. And after that, now it's just I'm constantly learning. Like even with my business associate partner, I connect with him regularly, and he's always just sharing things of ways to be and ways not to do things because I'm only technically 15 years young, and I got to grow up to be my 40-year-old self. So it's still lots of leaps and bounds going ahead, but there are many areas where I'm at par with who I am. So it's been a very challenging yet interesting journey.
And so, what was the prognosis for you? Like when you would come out from the coma and you had to they're telling you what's happened to you, and your doctors are telling you, what the long term might look like for you, your family as well. What was
Mhm.
that what was that like?
Great question. I when the doctor came into the room and said to my family, said Daniel will likely never walk again properly because I was paralyzed. Talk again clearly because I only have one of two vocal cords now because I paralyzed my left one. Likely won't remember anything prior to the incident, including you as family, and probably won't be able to eat ever again without being fed through tube because with the only one vocal cord, things tend to go down your esophagus and you choke. And it was interesting because I remember I even shared this on the Mo Mondays where you and I had met. I remember looking at him and I swore I said it so clearly and so loud. Thank you for your opinions, but I will not let that become my reality. You may leave. And literally to the second I said that, he turned around and walked out of the room. But it all just happened to be that he was finished talking to my family because several months later, when I finally got a voice that I could actually even whisper a note, I asked my mom, "Did I say this? What I just mentioned?" She was, "No, Daniel, you didn't say that. You couldn't even speak. You couldn't even make a noise. So you didn't say that." I said, "I swore I heard it so loud in my head." She goes, that's where it was because nothing came out of your mouth." But from that moment, I just knew that what his prognosis was that I was basically going to be living in. They already booked me for long-term care facility when I was ready to leave the ICU at the hospital, and I would have been bedridden and living in long-term care for the rest of my life. And I was like, I don't value that life. That's not a life I choose. So then I just took my rehab on like a business. This is a business. I broke this machine, this body, this vessel. I gotta fix it. So I took this body on like I was building an empire. And I took my rehab as serious as I would take a business meeting.
And that was just
And
there was like a voice within
yeah,
you, a knowing within you that despite everything that happened to you, somehow inside you, you knew that it was going to be different.
yeah, the soul just knew that it's like, you know where you want to go, Daniel. You know what you want to do. And I really had an aspiration to help him and serve people with challenges. And even though I had many different physical challenges in the past from different injuries that I endured through being an aggressive mountain biker and just reckless with my body, I thought that I knew, but I didn't really know what it was like to be blind, to be deaf, to be muted, to be fully paralyzed, and to have like n- brain totally wiped clean until I got into that. And now I've taken that as a learning platform. I've had to learn through all these different things of how to regain my vision, how to reconnect with myself, how to, take time and meditate and be with oneself, and how to study the body and study my being so that I can make it function even when it's not technically supposed to, because the nerves are cut in my body and I still made it function.
Mm. I think that's like the initial miracle that there was a voice inside of you, like you said. The doctor said, "Listen, this is what your life is gonna be like." You're like, "Thanks for your opinion, but I'm not having that." And did you waver from that ever? Were
I
there
may have had
days where you're
glimpse
just like, "No, maybe it's true."
I may have had glimpse of thoughts, but the moment those thoughts crossed my mind, the immediate thing I said was scratch that. And whatever say it was like I'm limping really bad, and I call myself, "Oh, look at you, you goofy bugger! You're a handicap and blah blah blah." All the words you hear, I would instantly say, "Scratch that! I walk perfectly. I walk gracefully." And I'd make all the affirmations as to who I am and what I'm becoming, so that my even before I could do it audibly, as I trained myself, I'd say audibly. So that I heard it, I felt it, I embraced it, and I had to think of the words. So that's like whatever that 5 or 6 times that I'm impacted by that. Within 4 to 6 days, if I said to myself, "Well, yes, that's goofy. Look at you, you klutz." Even before I could open my mouth, my mind says, "Scratch that," and it would start putting on positive affirmations of who I wanted to be. It wasn't me just saying positive, happy thoughts. It was myself proclaiming who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I wanted to walk clearly, so I said, "I walk gracefully. I walk light as a feather. I float as I walk." I would say things like that so that my walking actually became smoother and smoother and smoother. And I could actually watch it happen as I'm speaking. My walking got smoother. I physically experienced the change as I'm talking to myself.
Wow. And so when you were working with your therapist and maybe they may have even put on limitations onto, how much you could do in a day or how far you would get. And even listening to them, you just would correct them and say, "No, you don't know what you're talking about."
Well, anytime I had a therapist come to me and they asked me, because they just saw my drive of wanting to do something, and they go, "Daniel, you can't, you're not going to walk again." I said, "Don't tell me I'm not going to walk. I'm going to walk. Daniel, that's not possible. You broke this, you snapped your neck, you fractured your back, and blah blah blah, nerves." I was like, "I don't care what your medical acknowledgments are. I will walk again." And there was one day when I was in the hospital. I was still in rehabilitation hospital on University Avenue in Toronto, and one of the nurses or PSWs happened to walk in the take the stairs to go down to the next level, and I was coming up the stairs, and they go, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You can't walk on stairs." I'm like, "Well, I've made it this far." They gave me a boatload of crap because they go, "If you fall, you can't do that again, because if you fall, you could die. You hit your head once, you're dead." Because I was still in a very feeble space. I say, "Well, then when I ask to do something, we will do it." They go, "If we cannot do it that rehabilitation class, we will do it the next session. I promise you." And I held them accountable to that. I said, "I want to do this. I want to learn how." So when they asked me, he's like, "Would you like to climb one step or two steps?" Because I didn't know how to go upstairs. I said, "Two." Then when it came time for myself to stand alone, unstable, unsupported, I said, "How long would you like to stand for, Daniel? 30 seconds or a minute?" I said, "A minute." And I'd make it to a minute. I said, "Let's go longer, longer, longer." And each time I was always pushing myself and pushing them to excel. I said to him, I said, "Don't ever ask me if I want to do something. Give me an option, A or B. Because if you ask me, I can always make an excuse. I'm tired. I don't want to. I'm bored, or whatever the reason is. I don't want any opportunity to give you a reason not to. You hold me accountable to doing something, and always." And then my therapist started to excel and even push me further all the time, because I was always coming in and inspiring them and other patrons that they were in, other people that were being rehabbed, because I was just I was a machine. I was like, "This is my vessel, and this is training for my life. I don't tend to be in school the rest of my life, and this is my school. And
Mhm.
be here, make the most of it. I'm out of here."
Daniel, so, for someone who's watching and they're going through, insurmountable physical challenges, um, like you literally literally defying death, and we'll get to what you're doing now, which is amazing. But what are some of the strategies that you use to help you heal? You've mentioned some already, the mindset that you had. It wasn't even that you had to adopt it. Somehow you already had the mindset, and you were not gonna accept any limiting beliefs from anybody else. What are some of the strategies that you had to utilize in order to healing your body?
Great question. And actually, I was just interested because I was just speaking to my business partner about this like 15 minutes before we got on, because we were always talking about ways of just expanding and becoming greater beings. I couldn't read at the time. I had no understanding of how to read because, again, I was reborn, so I had to relearn how to read again, and so everything was audio. And the biggest thing is that going back to how I woke up with the determination and drive. There's multiple things, and then this is also some of the things that I do in different coaching and whatnot, that I support people that have had different challenges. But the biggest thing is all the affirmations that I had around in my office before. My family put them on the walls for me, so I could see inspirational words. Because if you're in a hospital room, it's just a white blank room. And if you had a stroke or any kind of head injury, and you wonder why you got no memory, it's because you're looking at a blank wall that becomes who you are. So they put pictures of my family, brother Josh, his family, brother Paul, Joel, and all their families on the wall. So then I began to recognize the families or different times that I was with them. They had photos of me out there, and then different inspirational quotes that I had. And the one quote that I saw, because I'd roll over and I'd always lay on the one side. And as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw I had on the wall, I can, I will, I must make a difference. You know who created that one? Whose that
No.
is?
No.
Anthony Robbins.
Oh.
I did all of his programs prior, and that's why my business was successful before. Well, one of the reasons why it had the knowledge of how to keep it going. But I had that quote up in my office, and my family had on the wall. So it was interesting. The first words I started whispering something because it would it would take all my breath to get one word out, and the word was a whisper. You'd have to, like, literally. My mom would put her lip above her ear, above my lips, and she heard me say, "I can, I will, I must." And that was the very first words they heard me say that I could actually speak in my new life. And so that was my determination and my focus. Is anytime I looked at something and they said it's impossible, I said I can, I will, I must. At the same time, here's the benefit and the beauty of what my family did for me, which is what I would like to share with people too, is if you've got a loved one that's in a coma or even just came out or in the hospital, have inspirational words beside them. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be Marianne Williams. It could be Louise Hay, Jerry and Esther Hicks, Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, or whoever it is. Play that, and if it's continuous, especially if they've had came out of a coma, oftentimes their memory's erased. So guess what gets reprogrammed in their brain? How to overcome and become and achieve more, how to connect with soul, how to connect with source, or how to just to be determined and have a focus to take life on passionately. And that was playing the whole time I was in a coma. And then when I woke up, that was my everyday listening, even for the next 3 years going through rehab. I made sure I always had a headphone on, and I always had someone talking in my ear, whispering to me who I can be and what I can do and how I can accomplish. So as most people take this on in their general life, we'll tell you what, if you come out and your body's blank and your brain's been erased, why not create yourself to be the person you've always wanted to be?
Mhm.
With no conscious mind stopping you. Well, that doesn't really work. It's
Mhm.
not there. It's fully received like a baby.
Mhm.
And so that's where the inspiration started. So then continuously, you even people today, maybe they're not had a coma, but even today, always having something inspiring, somebody you like that teaches you lessons that you admire, playing in the background, even if you're not listening to it, your subconscious is always connecting to it. So next thing you know, one day you're starting to talk like that, or act like that, or move in a more confident way. And that is my life, is always something going in my ear, whether it be in the vehicle or in the work or on the radio. I've always got something coming through, so I'm being empowered regularly.
Mhm. So, Daniel, this show is so much about connecting and nurturing our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self. So, in what you're saying and the strategies you implemented, I can hear you nurturing because we're a whole person, right? We can't just work on the physical self without working on the mental, emotional,
Mm.
and the spiritual, or we can't just work on the spiritual without nourishing and nurturing our physical, mental. Like they're all they all work together. They all fit together like a puzzle.
They all
So
serve each other.
so tell me about some of the work you did on on your spiritual self. What are some of the strategy you use to integrate that part into your healing?
Great question. That was the first thing in mind is when I was communicating with Source, it says, "Connect with the earth, Daniel, and you shall be healed. Consume the earth, and you be consumed." And we can go off and think and create all kinds of theoretical stuff with that, but it was a connect with the earth. So I went outside. When I couldn't feel my body, I remember being in the one rehabilitation facility in where was that? Etobicoke. I'd go out every morning, 6 o'clock, and I'd meditate in the backyard. Just I didn't know about grounding. I was just connecting. I didn't know about getting barefoot and all those other hoofla. The earth has an aura. We have an aura. It's an energetic
Mhm,
aura. We all connect when we're consciously aware. We connect with it. Being barefoot and everything, it just feels better. It doesn't necessarily
mhm,
make you connect better. It just feels better. So I go out in the morning. I in my night suit. I just walk out in the backyard because we had a backyard there, and I'd meditate for an hour or so, even before the staff got there to do their service of the day. And they found me outside. I said, "Daniel, what are you doing out there?" I was like, "Finding peace, healing."
mhm,
When I was out there, going back to the spiritual question, I connect with myself, my soul, and it would guide me as to where to place energy, or I track through my body and see where nerves and were shattered, or different parts of my body were broken, and I put energy and healing that down that area. And so the primary thing was I was just connecting with myself, being silent and feeling the energy of the earth. We call this Mother Earth, but what does Mother always want to do for their babies? Care for them and love them. Well, if that's so, then why don't we just take it literally and go to Mama and ask for some healing?
mhm,
When you walk by a tree, feel the energy, feel the beauty from it. If you want to hug a tree, hug a
mhm,
tree.
mhm.
When I was coming back from anything after every surgery, if I had any pain in my body, I'd walk on the grass. I'd take off the sidewalk, walk on the grass, that last little bit of grass between the grass, the sidewalk, and the road. I'd walk down that, and by the time I was done the end of the block, most times within halfway down, pain was gone. I had no pain left, and I was good for the next few hours.
Wow. They're all it's almost like there's strategies that we're not utilizing, but that are so powerful. And so in your in your message, Dr. Joe Dispenza is really just um, one of those speakers and that really talks about epigenetics and Dr. Lipton as well about the power of our body to heal itself. That you had some miraculous doctors that also help you to heal and they did their part, right? That as part of the universe there were a whole bunch of messengers and angels in heaven, angels on earth that were working with you to heal you from all angles. But
Hmm.
there's a strength in that self healing that we're not taking advantage of. It's like we don't it's there, but we don't know how to hone into it. And it's you are a living testament that it is possible to heal ourselves like from the inside out, in addition to, of
Hmm.
course, what the doctors and all the specialists. I mean, we can't do it alone, right? It takes a village, but you had amazing people that worked to help you and do what they can, in addition to all the work that you were doing as well. If people want to connect with you after the show and see, where you go and how your journey continues to unfold, how can they keep in touch with you? How can they connect with you?
Mm. Well, I gave you the Instagram. I'm just learning more about the social media stuff. I'm not the best at it yet, but I'm getting there and getting better. So the Instagram, and I think it's Daniel James Backs. I just downloaded Twitter to the phone, so I'm learning how to use that. But I also Facebook, they have Daniel Backs, and I have Daniel Backs Speaks. I'm gonna be putting more stuff on there. So when I create different videos and different stuff, I'm learning how to get it all out there. As of right now, I'd say probably come just blast through Instagram, and then from that, I'll learn how to connect everything.
Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your phenomenal and inspiring story of strength, resilience, and courage with us.
Thank you, Teresa. It's been such a gift to share this time with you and with your people, and I'm honored. I'm looking forward to connecting with whomever needs me, requests my assistance, and I'm here for everybody that for people that need the breakthrough. That's what I'm here for. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I'm going to leave you with the thought for the day. Today's show was about seeing challenges as a blessing. Life is unpredictable and full of challenges. Some people meet them with confidence, while others struggle to overcome them. While many of us are so fixated on results, it becomes hard to appreciate the detours caused by them. It's important that we remind ourselves that the daily trials and tribulations we face are not only teaching us about life, but also about ourselves. When those difficult situations arise, they can veer us away from who we are at our core and instead have us feeling frustrated, angry, and discontent with our lives and asking the question, why is this happening to me? This awareness can spur us to make a change. Take the necessary steps that can help us to remember we are powerful creators who are whole, healed, and complete. And this will allow us to alter our perception of our challenges to instead see them as blessings, as well as keys that can unlock doors to unlimited, miraculous opportunities in our lives. Thank you for being with me today, and I look forward to being here again next week.
To connect with Teresa Greco after the show for coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements, you can visit her website at teresagreco.ca or by email at stepstotruehappiness@gmail.com or follow her on Instagram at Teresa Greco_steps to happiness or on Facebook at Steps to True Happiness with Teresa Greco.